and welcome to another episode of Board Game Breakfast. Okay, so a couple things. First of all, before we start today, is that because I am leaving, probably while you're watching this, on my way to Essen, Germany. I'm going to be there all week, and there's a lot of things to talk about that in a moment. But that does mean that next week's Board Game Breakfast will be delayed by a day. It will come out Tuesday of next week, for which I apologize. But man, I'm going to Essen. We will have a booth there. Our booth is in Hall 7, C112. Okay, so I hope you come by and see us. Now, I want you to come by and see us for a couple reasons. One, we like to meet you and say hi. Come by and say hello to us. We will be there at various points. We'll have a schedule posted there if you come by. But I can guarantee you that all four of us who are going, it's going to be me, Eric Summer, Z Garcia, and Jason Levine. All four of us will be there the first and last hour of each day. And then we'll take turns rotating throughout the rest of the day. And you may bump into other Dice Tower people as time goes by. So come by and say hi. We will also have different promos available. I'm not sure which ones. We've shipped basically a bunch of leftover ones from Gen Con over there. I know we'll have some Arcadia Quest and Share for Nottingham and things like that. And if you'd like to donate to the show and get some of those, that's perfectly fine. We certainly won't argue with you on that. But we would like you to come by and say hi. Then, on Thursday at 4 o'clock, we have our live show. If you want to come to that show, you need to come by the booth sometime before then and get tickets to the show. Now, I don't know how many we'll have. I know how many tickets we'll have, 150 tickets, but I don't know how fast they'll go or even if they will go. I've had some people ask to reserve them. I apologize. I cannot do that. It is just first come, first served if you come by, but they're free. So, if you want to come by and grab one of those tickets. So that is what's going to happen at Essen. If you're there, say hi again. Maybe you want to say shut the door for one of our videos. We do want to say a big thank you. Our show is sponsored by Yellow. And Yellow makes some great games, and we're really appreciative of them helping us get that room at Essen. That was a big deal, difficult thing for us to pull off, and they helped out, so go buy some of their great games. In fact, Z reviewed one of their games last week, Niet, and I'll be reviewing a game or two of theirs this week, so check those out. We also want to say thank you to Gray Fox Games, who made Champions of Midgard, a fantastic game. Go buy that one at the con, too, and because they're letting us share the booth with them there at the Essen Game Fair. I'm really excited about Essen. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show. But hey, it's time for the news. Okay, so in the news, obviously a lot of stuff is going to be released this week at the Essen Game Fair. Now, some of that takes a while to go into distribution, but Pandemic Legacy will be hitting everywhere on the 8th, so I'm sure lots of people will be starting their campaigns. I guess the news for us is that we finished our campaign and we won. Huzzah! Let's see, and meanwhile, Plaid Hat Games has shown off a new video of Tail Feathers. That's one of the big games releasing at Essen Fair, so if you want to learn more about how this flying birds and mice game works. Wow, Mega Civilization. Now, I never expected a game like this to be printed, but it is coming from Pegasus with 2074 tokens. 2,074 tokens. It takes 10 to 12 hours for the full game, although there's supposedly a 1 to 2 hour introductory game. There is 41 pages in the rulebook. I did not read them all, but I saw that there was 18 civilizations and it goes for 5 to 18 players. Wow! I thought the era of the mega long game is dead. It is certainly not. I'm sure some people are rejoicing at this news. The IGA Awards has announced that their winner is Marco Polo, and they'll be giving that award out this coming Friday at the Essen Fair. So congratulations to Marco Polo. Yellow, I mentioned them earlier, that Dracus promo from the Kingslayer series for King of Tokyo that they had at Gen Con is going to be available from them. You can order from them, and 100% of the proceeds go to Patrick Roth's charity, and so if you want to support the charity and just get another cool character for King of Tokyo, then this is a great way to do so. And then several new games released this week. Again, in prep for Essen, we saw Battle Lore, the Undead Faction, and more. I'm sure we'll find out more news next week.
So we've talked a lot about adapting intellectual properties here on Whitleypedia. We've talked a lot about turning movies into games, and we've talked a lot about games and movies. We've talked about the Star Wars franchise and we've talked about the Star Trek franchise. So it seemed inevitable that we would eventually compare the gaming experience of the two at our table. Yes, that's right. A nerd on the internet is comparing Star Trek and Star Wars for the first time ever. Specifically, I want to talk about Star Trek Attack Wing and Star Wars X-Wing miniatures game. Now, X-Wing is easily the most popular game at my weekly gaming table. And when Attack Wing came out, we were all excited to try it, until we tried it. While I personally like the Star Trek IP a lot more than the Star Wars IP, I don't think that Attack Wing does a good job adapting it and capturing the feel the way Star Wars does with X-Wing. There are two moments I like to compare that illustrate the difference between starship battles in the two franchises. So there's this scene in episode 4 where Biggs is being chased and there's a TIE fighter behind him and he says, "I can't see it!" Because in Star Wars it makes a big deal if there's a guy behind you. It can mean you're in trouble. But then there's a similar scene in The Wrath of Khan where the Enterprise gets behind the Reliant and Khan just says, "Aft torpedoes, fire!" See, the action in Star Wars is meant to simulate dogfighting by planes in World War II, whereas the fights in Star Trek are more meant to be like large-scale naval battles, where individual little tactical movements aren't as important as the strategy of the commander behind the whole battle. See, while the fights in Star Wars should be fast and tactical, the fights in Star Trek should be more strategic. Your captain is locked in some battle of wills with another captain, and has to allocate the resources and be very cunning, and use an awful lot of technobabble. At very least, he should deploy the Crimson Force Field.
They use their Crimson Force Field!
What's the solution? Well, we'll talk about that next time.
Piece of that queen to come into my territory and now checks me. Now I have to sack one. What?
Whenever we go to a convention, there's going to be double the amount of work done the week before. So we do 2 weeks worth of production in 1 week, which sometimes makes it seem like those weeks are lighter. We finished all our top 100s last week. This week we're going to be doing video by video, 5 videos of the People's Choice top 100s. I hope you come by and see those. We'll also be doing our top 10 Take That games, and a lot of reviews will be going up. I know that I believe I have 10 different reviews that I'll be posting. Sam has some reviews coming. And we got a couple reviews from our contributors, so keep an eye out for the different reviews. They'll be posted during different times over the course of the week. I'm not actually sure what the schedule is, but you can just keep track. There will be several videos put up a day on the Dice Tower network here. Also, check out the Dice Tower Network. Many people who watch our videos have never listened to our audio show. We do an audio show. Me and my fantastic co-host, Eric Summer, put that out every week. Now, our show for this week is going up pretty much the same time as this one. Usually it's every Tuesday, but we posted it early because it's an Essen preview, and we talk about our top 10 games that we're looking forward to seeing at Essen. All right. Well, that's what's coming out from the Dice Tower. So anyhow, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
And today we have a question from Tim. Tim wants to know, hey, I want to get games, and there's lots of great games, but games go out of print, and I might miss a great game that goes out of print. So how do I know when a game is about to go out of print?
Well, you can't really tell when a game's going to go out of print, but what I do is I usually go onto Cool Stuff's website every day just to see what new stuff every hour. Just to see what new stuff's coming out. If it's a game that I want, which is a lot of them, I usually just buy it the first day not to worry so much.
Okay, let's pretend that not everyone's filthy rich.
Okay. Then, in all honesty, I don't think you have to worry too much, because if a game's popular, even if it sells out in the first week, it will come back in print.
I believe there is a law called Vasel's Law about such things, which is if a good game is really that great, it will be reprinted. Sure, there are exceptions of licenses and stuff, but I'm telling you, I can't think of any game that was amazing was only out for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
Usually they're out for years and then they go out of print.
Yeah, even games that are popular, like Codenames, we can't get it right now in the U.S., but a second shipment or a third shipment or whatever shipment they're on is on the way. So if you want the game, it's going to still be there for you. You just might not have it the first day, but you'll still have it within a normal time frame.
Most people can't afford all of the games. So you can only get some at all. So just take your time. Buy some good games. If a game's out of print, don't worry about it. Go find another game. There are so many good games currently in print at any given time. Just play those, and I would not worry about, oh, should I buy it now or will it go out of print? If it goes out of print, then it wasn't that great anyway.
Yeah, that's very true. And, be more careful when it comes to small publishers, because big publishers will print and print and print. Small publishers, sometimes they do a limited print run, and then you have to worry, will they actually print it, regardless if it's good or not.
Again, but maybe a bigger publisher will pick it up if it's good.
That's true.
Anyhow, send us questions at dicetower@gmail.com. I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, and if you're anything like me, then you not only have a severe allergy to dehydrated cantaloupe juice, but you also spend a lot of your spare time thinking about ways to improve the components in your board game collection. For example, several weeks ago, I did a segment on the different thicknesses of little plastic bags that are available for storing one's board game components in. The response to that segment was absolutely the same as any other segment. Actually, it was a little bit less. None. Nobody really responded. At all. But I kept telling myself that it's probably just because there was one aspect of the board game component bagging situation that I completely omitted from that segment. You see, while I have come to terms with being full of hot air myself, I have no tolerance for billowy, bloated board game baggies. And that's why I'm excited to bring you the first episode in this new one-part series focusing on unique tools of the board game aficionado. Today's episode, utilizing polyethylene ventilation technology to compress component containers. Today's Tool of the Trade tip comes from longtime Head in the Clouds viewer, Chaz Marler, who uses a simple hole punch to vent board game baggies, reducing the amount of precious box space that they require. Chaz writes, simply punching a hole in the corner of the bag with a standard hole punch allows the trapped air inside to escape. And it's a subtle difference, but it does add up. And in more than one case, it has made the difference in whether or not I've been able to fit an expansion's components into the base game's box. Oh, wow! Thanks for the tip, Chaz! Maybe I'll even invite you onto the show sometime. But not right now. If you use this technique, I find it works best with slightly thicker 4mm bags. And to prevent ripping, be sure to punch the hole not too close to the bag's edge. And in my experience, I have never had components fall out through the punched hole. So, seems to work pretty well. So here's to the simple hole punch, a useful tool for a board gamer to have at their disposal. But what about you? Are there any unusual or ingenious tools that you use to maintain your board game collection? Let me know in the comments below, and if I become desperate enough for content, I may feature them in a future segment.
My name is Nick from Board Game Brawl, and over on my channel I reviewed 6 games in the past week. I also did a live play of Kingdom Death Monster, went through the first few lantern years of the game. I'm pretty impressed so far, to put it mildly. Take a look and decide for yourself. But here are the reviews from worst to best. First, we have Exploding Kittens, the very popular Kickstarter, which I don't think anyone expected to be good. And they were right. It's terrible. I'd rather play Uno any day of the week. Then we have Dungeon Busters, which is a cute little game from Korea that has great artwork, and it is very interesting, but there's a couple of little faults with it that keep it from greatness, and also, I already played a much better version of it called Dungeon Guild, but it's still okay. Then we have Queen's Necklace, the new version from Cool Mini or Not, which has great production values, and it is a very interesting game. I love some of the mechanisms in it. but as a whole, it just wasn't quite for me. There's too much card counting, too much randomness, but I know a lot of other people will definitely like it. Then we have Monster My Neighbor, also from the Korean board game company, which is a very interesting hidden role deduction game. Very light, pretty random, but also not to be taken too seriously and plays very quickly. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Then we have the Adventure Time version of Love Letter. Yes, it's still just Love Letter. There's only a couple of little tweaks that don't really change the game that much or won't change anyone's mind about it, but there's custom artwork on it that I really liked, and I love Adventure Time, so if I have to keep a version of Love Letter, this will probably be the one, and Love Letter is a great game. And finally, we have Shakespeare from Istari and Asmodee, which is a fantastic Euro game, really tight, very unforgiving, but also very thematic at the same time, with wonderful artwork, so do check it out when you get the opportunity. Thank you so much. Take care.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Last week I reviewed They Come Unseen. It's a hidden movement submarine game designed by a submarine commander. Had a lot of good things going for it, but in the end there were too many clunky and fiddly things to remember, and a lot of them aren't documented well in the rulebooks or the player aids. Takinoko Cheapies is an expansion for the popular game Takinoko. I think it added a decent amount of new things to think about without adding too much complexity. Solid expansion if you like Takinoko. I also reviewed Takinoko, which is a very popular family-level Euro-style game that can be good for non-gamers and good for gamers. Very solid game there, Takinoko. I did Dark Moon, which is a hidden trader game for 3 to 7 players, and I think this fits a really good niche of 1 hour with a lot of with small player counts, plays well as larger, but it fits an hour niche for that hidden role, hidden trader type of game. Solid game. Poseidon's Kingdom, wow, reprinted by Game Salute, amazing components and artwork, really fun family game. It's just, as a huge package of everything together, it's awesome. The game's good, solid, but with the components artwork, raises it to another level. That's Poseidon's Kingdom.
Hey, Breakfast Club. Last week I reviewed 4 things. I reviewed 2 trick-taking games and 2 expansions. Here they are. I reviewed Joraku, a trick-taking area control game, which is interesting and unique. I'm not sure about the replayability, but I really liked it. I reviewed an expansion to Castle Panic, Dark Titan for Castle Panic. Really neat. And the first expansion was very good. This one, also very good. I recommend both of those. I reviewed a new army for Neuroshima Hex, Uranopolis, and this one's really neat because it's got some great big oversized machines. Check that one out. And I reviewed another trick-taking game, which is a favorite of mine, has been a favorite of mine for many years. This is a new reprint called Niet, and this is easily in my top 5 trick-taking games of all time. You gotta check this one out because it's amazing. So there you go, that's what I did. I'll see you next time.
Howdy Dice Tower, 3 games for you this week. First one is Orleans. This is a very different Euro game. It looks on surface like every other modern Euro that you've seen in the last few years, but it's got some different pacing. It's a bag building game. It gives you some room to explore and play around and revisit the game time and again. Definitely take a look at it. The next one is Seven Wonders Duel. A lot's been said about this game. On the random chance that you didn't like Seven Wonders, but you like the Cosmos 2-player games, I would say take a look at it. Otherwise, if you like Seven Wonders, take a look at it. It's great. It's awesome. Seven Wonders for 2 players. And finally, the new edition of Mysterium. I had reviewed the old one. This one, to me, is the definitive edition. I would go out and just get this one. Even if you've got the other one, I would still get this one. Much upgraded components and a much better endgame, I think, than the original. Thanks.
For me this week, I have a fewer reviews because I recorded them all in 1 week, and most of them are coming this coming week. But I did do some. Greedy Pirates is a Yahtzee-style game, and which is not really as good as Yahtzee. It looks kind of cool, but was just merely okay. Roll dice and hope to get good combos. Alien Wars is a game which mixes memory deduction. It's a really cool little tin, a space tin. You flip things over, then you're throwing cards. I like the combination. Hook is a game with holes in cards, and you're trying to put them on a table on different things to get points or attack the other players. A mix of take that and also kind of manipulation of the holes in cards. It was entertaining. Tiny Epic Galaxies. Wasn't a fan of Tiny Epic Defenders at all. Tiny Epic Kingdoms I thought was decent, but Tiny Epic Galaxies is actually really well done. Dice allocation, just a solid, good game. And then Pandemic Legacy. I know I've already talked about that one, but we finished it this last week. We played 17 games, which for me is a lot of any game, but we had a great blast. We talk about that. We have a concluding video where we talk about our final thoughts on that one.
can now be ready to paint the dark side.
Darth?
What?
We're not painting Imperial Salt, this week.
I find your lack of willingness to paint us most disturbing.
Darth?
What is it now?
Actually, we're going to paint you, but we're going to paint you for the Jack Vasel Memorial Foundation. The auction that's coming up real soon.
Oh. Why didn't you say that in the first place?
Well, you didn't ask.
Never mind.
Hey, welcome to the 101. That was Darth Vader. I must have some pull. Well, anyways, we're going to be painting Rum and Bones. Let's head outside and get them all primed up and learn a couple things about priming while we're at it. Shake your can up real good. 6 inches away. You don't want to be any closer than 6 inches away. Make sure that you're constantly short bursts. Better to get too little than too much. Another, turn your box. Another short burst. And as you can see, we got everybody painted. And there you go. All right, we got the Bone Devils all set and primed. Be sure to check out my channel, Robert Orn, on YouTube here for an extended look on getting everything primed, getting everything set up at the table, and the color scheme that we're going to be using for the Bone Devils. Until next time, this is Rob Orn, and we'll see you next time on the 101.
You know what rubs me raw? I'll tell you. Odd-shaped boxes. Look, I don't mind sometimes if you want to make your box a little bit different, and we'll talk about, you know, the size difference in box in the future. But those boxes, you think, ooh, let's make our box a hexagon. Let's make it a pentagon. Not cool because it's hard to fit on the shelf for both stores selling the product and for us storing it. But the worst are the tubes. Tube games, they don't fit on the shelf. They're hard to see. You can't put cool pictures on them. You have to roll the board up, pull the pieces out, dump the pieces out. They should be banished forever. I hate them.
Hello and welcome back to Board Games and Bowties. I'm Mike and we're back today with another segment of my series on Gateway Gaming. And last time we talked about the rules and how important your rules explanation can be when you're introducing new people to new games. So we're going to jump right back into that today. Tip number 4, attach strategy to the mechanics that you're explaining. When I'm explaining the rules of a game, I almost always talk about them in regards to winning. I attempt to make sure everything that comes out of my mouth ties back to the win conditions. People don't like rules, but if you make it that each thing you explain helps them destroy their opponents, people will stay engaged. So remind your friends that although they can't re-roll that die to get the sheep that they really want, the 7 they just rolled will move the robber and make that resource hoarder over there get rid of half their cards. Tip number 5, don't play with every rule right away. I often cut out more complex rules or mechanics in order to speed up the rules explanation. And this also allows for people to grasp the basic concepts of the game before introducing crazy rules or more difficult strategies. Along with this, I almost never explain exceptions to rules until they come up. Don't waste your time explaining the rules and then saying, but if this happened, that doesn't apply. Just explain the basics and get playing as soon as possible. You may skip over some things that you'll have to clarify later on in the game, but my friends rarely ever complain about getting to the fun faster. And finally, tip number 6. I almost always explain rules with examples and people's names. This is a technique that teachers use a lot. If I say, John could try to move here, but that wouldn't end up great for him because Garrett would almost certainly come over next turn and destroy him. That is way more fun and engaging than players cannot share the same space. If they do, one of them takes damage. Using people's names keeps them engaged in your rules explanations, and 2 things happen. You don't get mad that no one's listening to your rules, and they don't miss out on important rules of the game. It's a win-win. So that's all I've got for today. Have fun with your rules explanations and keep your friends engaged. They'll have a blast. My name is Mike, and we'll see you next time on Board Games and Bowties.
Welcome to Building Blocks with the Dukes of Dice. Let's say you want to teach a non-gamer a game like Robo Rally or Colt Express. In Robo Rally, you're a supercomputer programming a robot on a factory floor. In Colt Express, you're a train robber trying to nab the most loot. But in both games, you'll select and arrange multiple cards that represent different types of actions or movement for your character on the board. Once everyone has chosen their cards, and especially the order of those cards, players will take turns executing the actions in order. These two action or movement programming games aren't incredibly heavy, but it might be best to introduce a non-gamer to a building block first. Programming games require players to think multiple turns in advance, often requiring a spatial component, without the benefit of being able to plot out what they want to do on the board. To ease a non-gamer into programming games, we recommend Walk the Plank. In Walk the Plank, players are lazy and worthless crew on a pirate ship that the captain is trying to get rid of. Each player has a number of pirate meeples, and the goal is to have your pirates alive and other players eaten by the Kraken. Players will secretly select 3 cards and arrange them in order. In turn order, players will resolve 1 card at a time. Some will shove a pirate belonging to the player on your left or right. Others will let you charge ahead and give another pirate a good shove. Still others will extend or retract the plank, possibly dropping hapless pirates into the waiting maw of the Kraken. The last blue pirate down in the bottom of the ocean with you, only to have it wind up that your only legal target is your own pirate. Awkward. Regardless of how your best laid plans are thwarted by chaos, non-gamers will gain an appreciation for how crazy some of these programming games can be. With a couple of games of Walk the Plank under the belt, a non-gamer should be ready to try the more advanced games like Robo Rally and Colt Express, understanding some of the nuance of the underlying programming of these games.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the fair, Essen Spiel Fair. And if you've never gone to the fair, I want to talk a little bit about maybe if you are going, what to expect when you get there. A lot of people have asked me. Now, I've only gone twice, so take this with that kind of thought. I went last year, and then I went 5 years, and there were some very similar things. First of all, the Essen Fair is essentially a very gigantic exhibition hall. There are so many games being released there. I hear all sorts of numbers, 600, 800, 1,000. It doesn't matter. If there's more than 100 games being released, that's a lot. And the whole thing has this idea of buy games. I mean, everywhere I go, I see people with carts with tons of games. People just go here and buy and buy and buy. And because of that, there are a lot more used game stores there than I've seen at any other convention. There's just a lot of people there buying a lot of games. A lot of games are debuted at Essen. Probably more games are debuted there. Well, not probably. Definitely more games are debuted there than any other fair. Even way more than Gen Con. You might argue that some of the games at Gen Con are bigger releases, but this year at Essen, some huge releases. Pandemic Legacy and Time Stories and just several other big games are going to be released at the fair. And so it will be interesting to see. And it's going to be very difficult because it will be overwhelming. Now, when you go to Essen, as I would say, going to any convention, make sure you have a good pair of walking shoes because you'll be walking a lot. You'll notice that it's incredibly crowded, and it will only grow to be more crowded as each day goes by. If you want some of the hot games, you should go get them, although they does tend to be more copies of games at Essen's, although there's often many promos that people run to get, and there are fewer of those promos. Again, I don't worry so much about these things because if a game is that good, you will be able to get it later on. But there are a few companies, the Japanese companies, Splatter and some, and Martin Wallace, Tree Frog, that don't actually print a ton of copies of their games. So if you want to get some of those games, you need to get there quickly because they may not print for a long time or never reprint. And if you like those certain small games, go for those. Essen is the only fair where I stay there for lunch. I just grabbed something from the stands. Now, I've had some folks tell me that that food's not very good, but I guess not being German, I don't know the difference, and I find it fantastic that they have these really cool pretzels and hot dogs and all sorts of really cool, to me, they're delicious when I go there. And so when I go to Essen, and it's a long haul each day, it's from 10 to 7, and so you got to kind of make a game plan. I highly recommend using Eric Martin's Geek List or our videos or other things to kind of focus what do you want, what booths are you going to, because it will take you more than a day to go through the whole thing. There's a lot to see but if you are offered to get into some sort of demo game, you may wish to do so because what I found different than American game fairs is when you get into a game, you are there with the intent of playing the game the whole way through. So you're going to sit there and play that whole game. And so as time goes by at the fair, the tables become crowded. It's hard to get into any specific game because people are playing throughout whole games. And so you kind of might just look, and if you have a chance to jump in a game, you get into it and play it out thoroughly. So this is very interesting. When the fair closes at 7, it's just like everyone goes back to their hotels and plays games, but there's no like central area to play gaming. So it's kind of a different feel. For me, it's never been a big deal because the fair closes at 7, I go eat, and then I'm too exhausted to do anything else. So when you're going to Essen, what should you bring? You should definitely have some good walking shoes. I bought a really nice pair of sneakers with bought insoles for them. I want to be able to be as comfortable as possible because I'm going to walk a lot. Bring some sort of water that you can, you should always do that anyway, be drinking water. I always bring a charger for my phone so that my phone, when it will likely run out of battery, then I can charge that back up when I go around. Maybe some way to carry the games or some sort of plan. If you're driving to Essen, you're going to take them back to your car. I know that there's some lockers at Essen, but they go quickly, so if you're going to store your games there, you might want to do that. You got to kind of go in as in I'm going to almost a trade fair, but for the public. And it's very exciting. You're going to see a ton of games, and the vast majority of them are going to disappear within a year. So it's which of those games are the ones to find? Again, like I said, I think I would highly recommend going in with a list. Essen's a great place to say hi to designers. There'll be a lot of famous designers, a lot of publishers there, and maybe other people that you know. If you see me or Eric or Z or Jason at the fair, come say hi to us. Me, you should find. I'm 6'4", and I'll be wearing this red hat or my yellow hat, so I should be pretty obvious. Feel free, if I'm walking, to come by and say hi. I always have people say, well, you were talking to someone, I didn't want to interrupt. No, just say hi. Even if it's quick, it's great to talk to people. Now, if I'm carrying a huge pile of boxes somewhere, then you'll have to walk with me as you're saying hi. But still, we want to say hello to the folks who watch our show. We want to thank you for supporting our show. It's a big deal to us. I will be at Essen the entire time. Like I said, we're arriving Tuesday, and then we're leaving the following Monday. It's a full week. We plan to make it a week of work, and we hope that part of your Essen plans are to come by our booth. But even if they aren't, we do hope that you do have a great time there. And if you're not going, don't worry. Look at this as kind of something to keep interest on. Board Game Geek does live videos that you can watch streaming, where you can come and watch, all the different games that are being released at the fair. And so there's that live streaming aspect that you can get. There'll be tweets and things. And then once the fair is over, we'll be telling you which games we think are the best at the fair. We may be wrong, but you'll get a lot of different opinions on that. So that's Essen. I'm really excited to be going. I'm nervous. I'm getting everything together. I hope I have everything I need. I'm trying to get this board game breakfast video together. Why are we still talking? Let's keep going.
Hi there. My name is Niels from Cyril's Brettspiele, and I'm talking about the best and the worst mechanism in a board game, for me, of course. And today I'm talking about Puerto Rico and the mechanism in Puerto Rico.
My absolutely favorite mechanism in Puerto Rico is role selection and role following. That means the active player pick, for an example, this Baumeister or builder. He can use this action with a benefit, but everybody else can use this action as well. The game mechanism that I don't like most on this game is exactly the flip side of this role picking. These 4 roles are already picked, and I'm the 5th player in this round, and I have the choice of the last 4 roles. If I don't have any goods to sell, if I don't have any goods to shipping and selling, and I don't need money, so then my options are so limited, and maybe this is a not really helpful action I can pick from. So I will be punished to being last player. And this is a feeling I don't like in games when you're the last player and you have only the choice of bad choices, one of these 4. Please let me know what your favorite mechanism and what your worst ever mechanism in Puerto Rico is. Leave it in the comments or write me an email or leave it on my YouTube channel, whatever you want, but please contact me and let me know.
This is the 2 mechanisms I really like and hate in Puerto Rico, a very classical board game, and presented by Niels from Cyril's Brettspiele. See you next time. Bye bye.
Hi there, my name is Niels from Cyril's Brettspiele, and I'm talking about the best and the worst mechanism in Puerto Rico. My absolutely favorite mechanism in Puerto Rico is role selection and role following. That means the active player pick, for an example, this Baumeister or builder. He can use this action with a benefit, but everybody else can use this action as well. The game mechanism that I don't like most on this game is exactly the flip side of this role picking. These 4 roles are already picked, and I'm the 5th player in this round, and I have the choice of the last 4 roles. If I don't have any goods to sell, if I don't have any goods to ship, shipping and selling, and I don't need money, so then my options are so limited, and maybe this is a not really helpful action I can pick from. So I will be punished to being last player. And this is a feeling I don't like in games when you're the last player and you have only the choice of bad choices, one of these 4. Please let me know what your favorite me Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. It's only natural to expect, or at least hope, that award-winning games, especially Spiel des Jahres winners, will be ported into a digital app. Well, Camel Up, or Camel Cup, or Camel Shmup, whatever you want to call it, just released for iOS, and I wanted to give you a peek at it as soon as possible. But party and social games can be really hard to do well in app form, so let's. Camel Up is a betting game in which camels are moved based on dice rolls, and players try to nab the betting tiles associated with the camel that ends up winning each leg. You can also bet on the ultimate winner and loser, or place an oasis or mirage to kind of mess with the camel's progress. Camel Up is beloved by gamers because it's light and social and handles a high player count. At first glance, the app looks good. The art matches the board game, the graphics are sharp, and the UI is intuitive overall. But this feels like an app that was rushed to market because of the oddity of the missing features. And keep in mind, I'm playing the very first release of this app, which often have bugs and other fixable quirks. There's no tutorial or on-screen help, but the rules are simple and implemented well, which is okay for this kind of game. But there's no settings beyond changing the language. You can't adjust the music or sound effects or the animation speed or any other kind of standard feature. And there's no online play, which makes the fact you can't save multiple local games even more disappointing. But it's odd because it looks like they intend to have online play. There's a local game button indicating that there should be an online game button. And there's a tie-in to Game Center and a leaderboard, but both seem to be completely inactive. The solo play and pass and play work fine, and there are 3 levels of AI, but without the raucous social element or the satisfaction of beating a few human opponents, this just isn't a compelling game experience for me. I'm definitely going to keep my eye on this app, and if and when an update releases that includes online play or other substantive improvements, I will re-feature this app. But for now, if you think you'd enjoy the exercise of playing against the AI for $5, well, give it a try.
Hello Internet, welcome back to another How to Snakes. Now, in the last 5 years, we have learned a lot of different things about what our customers are looking for, how we should operate, and just the business in general. And one of those things is how to run a library. Now, we've talked about the library before, but this time I want to talk about the difference between popularity and variability. Now, when we first opened 5 years ago, we had about 1,200 different games, and that was it, 1,200 different games. We thought, variety, that's the way to go. But we've discovered over time that there are a lot of games in our collection that just don't really get played. Snakes and Lattes College. It's still a work in progress, but I think you'll agree it looks a lot better right now than it did when it was Snakes and Lattes Redacted. We've got some furniture, we've got the lights, and we've got the wall in place. Now this wall is pretty much the same size as the collection in Snakes and Lattes Annex, about 165 to 170 different cubbies that are all going to be full of games. But what we're doing here is a little different. Rather than have 1,000 different games, some of which get played a lot and are in high demand, some of which don't get played at all, we are going to focus a little more on the idea of games should be played. So, we are going to have entire cubbies full of the very most popular games. So, not the stuff that maybe I would play or the stuff that you would play, but the stuff that over 5 years we've discovered is what our customers want to be playing. So there's going to be good stuff in there, there's going to be some mediocre stuff, and there's going to be some stuff that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but it's what our customers want. And if you're running your own board game cafe, it's probably going to be what your customers want too. So in amongst the Dominions, the Catans, the Ticket to Rides, there's going to be the Guess Who's, the Jengas, the Monopolies, the Lifes. There's going to be lots of copies of each, so our customers won't have to wait anymore to play the game that they want to play.
Well, that's it for this week, folks. I hope that you enjoyed Board Game Breakfast as always. If you haven't watched Board Game Blender from last week, don't forget Board Game Blender is very similar to Board Game Breakfast. It has a lot of different shows. It's just run by Z Garcia, so he has kind of a theme in each one, and if you're missing out on it, I heard some people say, well, I thought the game was about blending two games together. It's not. It's a variety show just like this one. I hope you enjoy the different contributions to the show. I'd like to thank all the contributors for sending stuff in. Anyhow, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.